The contempt of court case brought against AfriForum's Deputy CEO Ernst. The application was brought by the Nelson Mandela Foundation. Roets tweeted an image of the old apartheid flag just hours after an equality court ruling against the gratuitous display of the banner. Our reporter Kylie Kumalo was in court today and joins me now from for this conversation. Kai, we've got both sides which argued their point. What were the bases exactly of both arguments? Take us through that.
Well, essentially, Faith, you had the Nelson Mandela Foundation really telling the courts that this is a very important decision that they've decided to bring this matter before the courts, essentially to really make sure that the court's judgment to be respected. So they say the court has a primary task of making sure that its judgments are respected, but also more importantly, guided by two principles of constitutional value, but also apart from that, making sure that we embody a new society where racism is not an issue. But on the other hand, the AfriForum legal representative also argued that this was a tweet that was posted not using the colors of the AfriForum. So Mr. Roets was doing this based on his own personal capacity.
On the other side of it, I mean, we've got judgment.
Currently happening is that the Nelson Mandela Foundation came here saying that they are here in the name of reconciliation and mutual respect and recognition and all of those things, while arguing in court that a civil rights activist should be thrown in prison for tweeting a picture. That's not a reconciliatory approach, that's a fascistic approach. So we are very concerned about the priorities of the Nelson Mandela Foundation. There's a lot of problems in this country. There's, to use their terminology, there's real black pain happening around us in this country, currently in this very city in which we are arguing. But the Nelson Mandela Foundation has apparently said nothing about that. They seem to be more concerned about prosecuting civil rights activists.
And also, Kyle, on the other side of it, when we've got the Nelson Mandela Foundation, which has been arguing about this flag for quite some time now, obviously the display or the gratuitous display of the old South African flag, but also on the other side of it is this issue of upholding judgment, as you're articulating. So exactly what transpired from their side and what was their argument?
So they were very specific as well. So they spoke about the pain that the black people suffered during the apartheid regime. So they were very insistent in saying that the mere display of the flag just demonstrates white supremacy. So they were citing the court's judgment, but also more importantly, they were saying that this was a sheer contempt of court. But also more importantly, a point that they really stressed is that they don't want a jail sentence. So this should be a very clear indication that Mr. Roets should be brought to book, so either through a fine or just a way of making sure that he's really held accountable for really just making a tweet, especially right after the court's decision.
Of course. But on the other side of it, I mean, given the fact that they do not necessarily want him to be arrested, they just want him to have a fine or maybe even send out an apology for that matter. When are we expecting that judgment?
Well, at this point in time, it's just the judge, just called to make sure that the judgment is handed down. So the judgment has been reserved. At this point in time, there hasn't been any dates given out. So during the course of the week or months, so we will be just waiting with bated breath, really to see. So, but it was really interesting to see the dynamics in courts, especially among some people who were right in attendance, and especially because there was an outrage that was expressed on Twitter and other social media platforms. But of course, the argument that Mr. Roets has always been using as well is that it was an academic purpose. So that's an exception that the court actually made room for when the original judgment was made.
It is a wait-and-see game at this moment in time, Kai. So we're going to leave it there for now. Reporter Kylie Kumalo giving us the latest in terms of exactly what transpired in court, especially where that the display of the old flag is concerned on social media by AfriForum's Ernst. So we'll be giving you more information regarding that. But